Think of a king whose name alone conjures images of bravery and adventure. Richard the Lionheart, born in 1157, was a remarkable ruler whose life was full of bold battles and grand achievements. As the son of a powerful English king, Richard became famous for his incredible military skills and leadership. He is best known for his role in the Crusades, where he led with courage and strategic brilliance, and for his efforts to protect his kingdom. Richard's reign was filled with challenges and victories that left a significant mark on history. In this video, we'll look at Richard the Lionheart's fascinating life, his rise to power, his key role in the Crusades, and the lasting impact he made. Let's uncover the story of this legendary king and understand what made him such a memorable figure in history. Early life and background. Richard the Lionheart was born on September 8, 1157, at Beaumont Palace, Oxford, England. He was the third son of King Henry II of England and Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine. Richard's birth was significant because he was born into one of the most powerful families in Europe. His father, Henry II, ruled over a vast empire that included England and substantial parts of France. His mother, Eleanor, was a formidable figure with her own powerful background, having been the Queen of France before her marriage to Henry II. The combination of these influential parents set the stage for Richard's future prominence. Richard's early years were spent under the shadow of his powerful family. Unlike many other royal children, he spent a considerable amount of time in France due to his mother's frequent residence there. This exposure to the French court broadened his understanding of European politics and culture. Richard received a comprehensive education that prepared him for leadership. His schooling included subjects like history, languages, and literature. However, he also received military training that was crucial for his future role as a king. He learned about combat, strategy, and leadership under skilled tutors and military instructors. This blend of intellectual and practical training was designed to equip him for the complex demands of kingship. As a teenager, Richard began to take on significant military and political responsibilities. By the age of 16, he was already participating in military campaigns. One notable early achievement was his role in suppressing a major rebellion in Poitou. This rebellion, led by some of his father's vassals, tested Richard's military skills and leadership. His successful efforts in quelling the uprising showcased his capabilities as a leader. Richard also started to take on governance roles, managing territories such as Aquitaine, part of his mother's dowry. This experience involved handling local politics, legal issues, and economic matters. His early involvement in these areas helped prepare him for his future role as king. Ascension to the throne. Richard the Lionheart's rise to the throne was shaped by complex family dynamics. His father, King Henry II of England, ruled over a vast empire that included both England and significant territories in France. Henry II had several sons, and the question of who would succeed him was a pressing issue throughout his reign. Richard, despite being the third son, was a key figure in the succession plans due to his strong leadership skills and military successes. The relationships between Henry II and his sons were often strained. Richard, along with his brothers, frequently clashed with their father over control of the territories and political power. This ongoing conflict set the stage for Richard's future role as king. When Henry II died on July 6, 1189, the question of who would become the next king was resolved in favor of Richard, largely due to his reputation as a capable leader and his proven track record in military affairs. Richard's ascension was not without its challenges. His rise to the throne required navigating the delicate balance of power within his family, and dealing with the various factions that had supported or opposed his father. Despite these challenges, Richard's strong claim to the throne and his ability to secure support from influential figures helped him become the next king of England. Coronation and early reign. Richard's coronation took place on September 3, 1189, at Westminster Abbey. This event marked the beginning of his official reign as King Richard I of England. The coronation was a significant occasion, symbolizing the start of a new chapter in England's history under Richard's rule. In the early days of his reign, Richard faced several immediate challenges. One of his first tasks was to consolidate his power and address the political issues left behind by his father. This included managing relationships with various nobles and addressing the political and administrative needs of his kingdom. Richard's ability to quickly and effectively handle these issues was crucial in establishing his authority as the new king. Richard also focused on fulfilling his promises and securing his position. He made efforts to strengthen his control over his territories and address any lingering disputes from his father's reign. This involved a combination of military actions, diplomatic efforts, and administrative reforms. One of the major decisions Richard made early in his reign was to embark on the Third Crusade, a significant military campaign aimed at recapturing Jerusalem from Saladin. This decision highlighted Richard's commitment to both his role as king and his personal dedication to the Crusades. Overall, Richard's ascension to the throne was marked by a combination of family dynamics, political maneuvering, and early efforts to establish his rule. His ability to navigate these challenges and make strategic decisions set the stage for his future achievements as one of England's most notable monarchs. The Third Crusade. Preparation and departure. The Third Crusade was a significant event in Richard the Lionheart's reign, beginning with extensive preparations. The crusade was aimed at recapturing Jerusalem from Saladin, the Muslim leader who had taken control of the city in 1187. Richard, alongside other European leaders, was determined to reclaim the Holy City and uphold the Christian presence in the region. Richard's preparations were meticulous. He began by organizing a large fleet and gathering troops from across England and his other territories. This involved securing funds, recruiting soldiers, and coordinating with allies. His mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, played a crucial role in raising money and resources to support the campaign. In 1190, after months of preparation, Richard set sail for the Holy Land. His departure was marked by a sense of urgency and anticipation. The journey to the Mediterranean was long and arduous, but Richard's leadership and the support of his forces kept morale high. The objective was clear: to join the other Crusaders and fight to reclaim Jerusalem. One of the most notable achievements of Richard during the Third Crusade was the Siege of Acre. Acre, a key port city on the coast of what is now Israel, was under Muslim control. The city was a crucial strategic point, and capturing it was essential for the success of the crusade. The siege began in 1191 and was a protracted and challenging operation. Richard's strategy combined direct assaults with blockades, aiming to wear down the defenders. His leadership and military tactics were instrumental in the success of the siege. After several months of intense fighting, the Crusaders, under Richard's command, managed to capture Acre in July 1191. This victory was a significant boost to the morale of the Crusaders and a key step towards their ultimate goal. Following the capture of Acre, Richard's forces continued their campaign against Saladin. One of the major confrontations was the Battle of Arsuf, fought on September 7, 1191. This battle was crucial as it tested the effectiveness of Richard's leadership and the strength of his army. At Arsuf, Richard faced Saladin's troops in a fierce battle. Despite being outnumbered, Richard's tactical skill and determination played a critical role in securing a victory. The battle was marked by intense fighting, but Richard's ability to lead and strategize led to a decisive win for the Crusaders. This victory further established Richard's reputation as a capable and formidable military leader. Negotiations and truce. As the campaign progressed, the focus shifted from military engagements to diplomatic efforts. Richard and Saladin began negotiations to reach a truce. The aim was to find a solution that would benefit both sides and allow for a resolution to the conflict. The negotiations resulted in a truce that was signed in September 1192. The agreement allowed Christian pilgrims access to Jerusalem, although the city remained under Muslim control. This truce was seen as a practical outcome, given the ongoing challenges and the complexities of continuing the war. It allowed both sides to achieve some of their objectives and paved the way for a period of relative peace. Return to England and imprisonment. After spending several years fighting in the Holy Land during the Third Crusade, Richard the Lionheart returned to England in 1192. His journey home was fraught with complications. On his way back, he faced a series of political and military issues that made the trip even more challenging. Richard's return was marked by a significant setback. While traveling through Central Europe, he was captured by Duke Leopold of Austria. This happened in December 1192 as Richard was making his way back to England after the Crusade. Duke Leopold was an ally of King Philip II of France, who had long been at odds with Richard. Leopold held Richard prisoner in his castle, and the capture was a severe blow to both Richard and his kingdom. The capture of such a prominent figure as Richard was both politically and financially burdensome. The ransom demanded for his release was enormous, amounting to a staggering sum that placed a heavy strain on the finances of England and Richard's other territories. The amount required was equivalent to about 3 times the annual income of the English crown. This situation left England in a difficult position, as the kingdom had to come up with a substantial amount of money to secure Richard's freedom. Eleanor's role and Richard's release. During Richard's imprisonment, his mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, played a critical role. Eleanor was a strong and influential figure who had already experienced the challenges of managing the kingdom during Richard's absence. Faced with the daunting task of raising the ransom, Eleanor worked tirelessly to gather the necessary funds. Eleanor's efforts included negotiating with various political leaders, leveraging her connections, and mobilizing resources from across her territories. Her determination and strategic acumen were instrumental in addressing the financial demands of the ransom. She was able to rally support and secure the funds required to free her son. By February 1194, after months of intense efforts, Eleanor successfully raised the ransom amount. Richard was released from captivity, and his return to England was met with a mix of relief and celebration. His release was a major victory for Eleanor and the English people, who had endured a period of uncertainty and difficulty during his absence. Richard's return marked the beginning of a new phase in his reign. After regaining his freedom, he focused on reasserting his control over his kingdom. His time in captivity had not diminished his resolve or his leadership skills. Instead, it reinforced his position and his determination to manage the challenges facing his realm. Restoration and final years. After being released from captivity, Richard the Lionheart faced the formidable task of reasserting his control over England and his territories. His time away and the turmoil of his imprisonment had created a power vacuum and challenges that needed immediate attention. Upon his return, Richard quickly focused on restoring order and strengthening his position. He first addressed the internal issues within England. His absence had allowed various nobles and rivals to gain more power, and it was crucial for him to re-establish his authority and ensure loyalty among his subjects. Richard worked to reinforce his control over his territories, making sure that the kingdom's administration was efficient and that his commands were followed. Richard's efforts included dealing with those who had taken advantage of his absence. He reasserted his influence by reaffirming his authority and addressing any disputes that had arisen during his captivity. This involved a combination of diplomacy and, when necessary, military action. Richard's strong leadership was evident as he took decisive steps to manage the challenges and secure his position as king. Conflict with Philip II. One of the significant issues Richard faced during his final years was his ongoing conflict with King Philip II of France. The relationship between Richard and Philip II had always been strained, and tensions between the two leaders continued to escalate after Richard's return. The conflict with Philip II was rooted in territorial disputes and long-standing rivalries between the English and French crowns. Philip II had taken advantage of Richard's absence to advance his own interests in territories that Richard had previously controlled. Richard needed to address these territorial losses and defend his lands against Philip II's encroachments. Richard and Philip II engaged in a series of confrontations and negotiations throughout the late 1190s. Their rivalry led to several military skirmishes and conflicts over key territories. Despite Richard's efforts to regain control and assert his dominance, the struggle with Philip II remained a significant challenge. Richard's conflict with Philip II was marked by a combination of battles and diplomatic efforts. Both leaders sought to secure their positions and influence the outcome of their rivalry. Richard's military campaigns against Philip II were intense and reflected his commitment to defending his realm and restoring his authority. Richard's final years were defined by his efforts to consolidate his power and address the ongoing challenges from his rivals. His conflict with Philip II continued to be a major concern. And Richard's reign was marked by a series of military engagements and diplomatic maneuvers aimed at safeguarding his territories. Richard's reign was cut short when he was mortally wounded during a siege in 1199. He died from his injuries on April 6, 1199, at the age of 41. Richard's death marked the end of a tumultuous period in his reign, and he was succeeded by his brother John. Death and legacy. Richard the Lionheart's life came to an end during a siege in the year 1199. While besieging the castle of Cailles-Chabrol in southwestern France, Richard was struck by a crossbow bolt. The wound, though initially not considered fatal, became infected. Despite receiving medical attention, the infection spread and Richard's condition worsened. Richard's final days were spent dealing with his injuries and preparing for the end. He was surrounded by his closest advisors and family. His death occurred on April 6, 1199, at the age of 41. The loss of such a prominent figure was deeply felt throughout his territories and beyond. Following his death, Richard was buried at Fontevraud Abbey in France. His burial place was chosen by his mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, who also requested that Richard be laid to rest alongside his father, Henry II, and his brother, Geoffrey. This choice reflected the close-knit nature of his family and their shared history. The funeral was a significant event, marking the end of an era for the English monarchy. Legacy and cultural impact. Richard the Lionheart's legacy is a blend of his military prowess, his role in the Crusades, and his enduring cultural impact. Despite his relatively short reign, Richard is remembered as one of England's most famous kings due to his bravery and leadership during the Third Crusade. His reputation as a warrior and a leader was cemented by his role in the battles and sieges of the Crusades, particularly his victories at Acre and Arsuf. Richard's legacy is also marked by the way he has been portrayed in literature and popular culture. He has been depicted as a heroic figure in many works, including Robin Hood tales, where he is often shown as a noble and just king who is absent from England but returns to restore order. This portrayal has contributed to a lasting image of Richard as a courageous and idealized monarch. In addition to his cultural impact, Richard's reign had lasting effects on the political landscape of medieval Europe. His conflicts with King Philip II of France and his efforts during the Crusades had significant implications for the political relations between England and France. Richard's actions and decisions influenced the dynamics of power in the region long after his death. Richard's contributions to the Crusades and his military strategies are still studied by historians and military scholars. His approach to leadership and warfare continues to be analyzed for its effectiveness and impact on the outcomes of the Crusades. Thanks for watching. For more intriguing stories and history, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next.